Launched in 2012, the Mazda CX-5 became a big asset for the Japanese car maker after selling 1.5 million units around the world. However, the prospect of facing the likes of new Seat Ateca, new Volkswagen Tiguan and the facelifted Ford Kuga wasn't a pretty sight for Mazda. And this is the 2017 Mazda CX-5. The biggest changes were needed in the cabin, and this is where Mazda insisted with the refurbishment, if I can call it so. We have a new steering wheel with new chrome trim, a new dashboard trim as well, and the introduction of a 7-inch tablet-like infotainment screen on top of the console, where it should be, by the way. I know you're waiting to see how the Mazda CX-5 drives, but we're not over yet with the interior because it has some perks that aren't quite visible at first sight. Now, one of them is the head-up display. Mazda finally dropped the plastic screen coming from behind the steering wheel, and you get the information projected right on the windscreen. However, there's a catch because you only get this feature on the range-topping trim for the CX-5. Go for a lower trim and you're still stuck with the plastic, cheap-looking HUD screen. Secondly, Mazda fixed a big flaw, I would say, for the first CX-5, which was not adequate cabin soundproofing. What they did was add extra padding on the engine bay, which, by the way, it's a diesel, but I'll talk about that later. They also did another trick, and they took the components under the B-pillars here and filled the gaps between them with a special foam that now absorbs sounds a lot better than before, thus enhancing a quieter cabin. And the best way to see that, and to hear it actually, is by getting the car on the highway. Mazda's third trick has to do with the A-pillars, and yes, it's related to visibility because they pulled the A-pillars a bit back and now you get extra visibility in corners, something that didn't happen inside the older CX-5. And believe me, you will be grateful for it because this CX-5 is quite a blast to drive on a winding road. Again, I'll get to that. In front of me sits a diesel, a 2.2-liter diesel engine that, although makes the CX-5 a bit nose-heavy, it is likely to appeal the majority of customers. However, this engine I'm driving, the 175 horsepower one, is only available with 4-wheel drive and an automatic or the standard manual gearbox. I'm driving the automatic today, and I have to say it's hats tip for me, for Mazda, because they've done a heck of a job in synchronizing the engine and the gearbox. They work absolutely perfect. It's like they've been in the army together, like they fought together. And I can't see a reason why anyone wouldn't go for the automatic, although the manual is slick, as always, for Mazda, but this combo is absolutely flawless. You'll want to drive the CX-5 on winding roads, because I wasn't expecting to say this, but what they did was increase torsional rigidity by 15%, and the CX-5 is now even more composed on the road. There are tremendous amounts of grip. It was raining yesterday. I tried to whip the car in a roundabout. It didn't budge. It absolutely didn't budge. And of course you have the all-wheel drive system. You have the GVC system, which is, again, like in the Mazda 6, a dirty little trick that helps you in corners. When you're approaching the corners and you brake, it cuts torque, so you get more weight on the front wheels, and then as you exit the bend, it puts back the torque and you get more downforce on the rear wheels, and thus you would slingshot out of a corner. There's nothing more you could ask from the CX-5 in terms of agility and road nimbleness. I mean, it's right there with the top performers. I think it's right there with the Ford Kuga and maybe the Tiguan. I don't see it being overrun by these cars. And I would go a bit philosophic now and say that when you're operating in an area with heavy competition, your only solution is to get better. So I think the CX-5, the 2017 CX-5, is Mazda resharpening the blade and Mazda trying to face competition, which is not to be ignored, by the way, because you have the new Tiguan, you have the new Ateca, there's the facelifted Kuga, and in this growing segment, we're bound to see some more arrivals sooner rather than later. Now, I've spoke about the engine, I've spoke about the well-weighted steering, the nimble body, which is more rigid, and it makes the CX-5 go from good to better. But there's one little comment I would like to add, and it's about the suspension. And although its rigidness cuts down body roll to a minimum, I think it is still a tad too harsh for such an SUV. I don't dislike it, it doesn't bother me, but given the fact that customers with families, with children will go for this kind of model, I think a softer suspension setup would have been a better choice in some way. Although, what I recommend is avoiding the 19-inch wheels, which this car has. Go for the 17-inch ones. You'll be a lot better in those rather than with the larger rims, and you pay the price of larger rims with your buttocks, so I'm not sure you want that on longer trips, because the CX-5, the diesel one I'm driving, can go for miles on the highway. It's a good cruiser, provided the asphalt quality is also at least on par with its performance. In the end, the CX-5 I think is one of the best well-rounded packages out there. It has a bit of an everything. It doesn't overreact with anything at all, but it does everything by the book, or closely by the book. It got the looks, it got a pretty frugal engine, it got a good combo between engine and gearbox, whether it's the manual or the automatic, but especially the automatic. The tech levels are fine once they added the 7-inch tablet for the infotainment system, and soundproofing got better. You have a plethora of safety features, including adaptive cruise control and all sorts of sensors. You got a blind spot monitor, and they also integrated the sensors and the radar nicely, neatly inside the Mazda logo in front of me. And I'm beginning to love this car actually. I don't think it's good for my reviewing skills, but yep, I'm loving the Mazda CX-5. There, I said it. If this review was useful for you, we would ask you to consider hitting the subscribe button and follow us for more videos like this one. Again, if you have any opinion, any question, any demand maybe, anything to add to what I've said or something to contradict me, don't hesitate and give us a shout in the comment section below.